Here so we can get started. Appreciate it if everybody could find a seat so we can get started. Okay, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This is the October edition of the Amherst Planning Board. Just a couple of things first. The members you see before you right now are volunteers. We're all appointed by the Amherst Town Board. We make final decisions on site plans and subdivisions. We are advisory only on rezonings and comprehensive plan amendments. To that, we make a recommendation one way or another to the town board, and they make the eventual final decision. The town board is obviously the elected officials on this. Some ground rules on this, and there's going to be a slight change on one petition, which I'll let you know in a minute. The petitioner presents first to the board with regard on any agenda item. We will then ask the petitioner questions. I will ask if anyone from the public has any comments or questions. I would have, anyone from the public has a question or concern, I'd ask you to address it to us, and then we'll make sure that the petitioner addresses it when they get a chance to address that. There is a laser pointer attached to that podium. I would ask if anyone wants to use that and address anything on the screen, or use the screen. It's to my right, to your left. We have two items on tonight that are set for hearings, and there's two other items that are under unfinished business. Those will not have hearings, so there'll be no speakers on the last two items. With regard to time limits, the petitioner goes first, gets 15 minutes. The neighborhood spokesperson, now that's from the general public, that is the first person who speaks after the petitioner's done speaking. That person gets 15 minutes. Everybody else in the general public who speaks thereafter on a specific agenda item gets 3 minutes. And the reason I mentioned earlier, there's going to be a slight change on here. For item number 2, the Maple Road project, we've had a request from the petitioner if they could have a slight amount of additional time, specifically 15 minutes for the main speaker, Mr. Hopkins, their attorney, 3 minutes each for a couple of the principals involved in the project. I'm going to approve that, but I'm going to approve it on the condition that the neighborhood spokesperson, whoever is going to speak first on the Maple Road project, gets 21 minutes instead of 15, so it's fair, okay? Anyone else coming after that will still be 3 minutes. We'll go back to normal after that, but I don't want to give somebody consideration it's not afforded to somebody from the general public. Aside from that, in the unlikely event that there is an emergency, I would ask everybody to go out the doors to your right into the bank parking lot. Don't try to weave your way through here. And roll call, please.
Jamil.
Here.
Davis.
Here.
Gill.
Here.
Hahn.
Here.
O'Rourke.
Here.
Ed Murphy.
Okay. All right, let's start with item number 1.
The minutes, can we do minutes
Do
first?
we want to do the minutes first or last? Do them first? Okay, let's do that
I
first.
move to approve the minutes as presented.
I'll second.
All right, we got a move by John, seconded by Carrie. Roll call, please.
Jamil.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Gill.
Yes.
Hahn.
Yes.
O'Rourke.
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
thanks.
Let's move on to item number 1, 468, 496 Dodge Road. Mr. Hopkins.
Yes, good evening, members of the Planning Board. Sean Hopkins on behalf of the applicant, the Green Organization. We're back in front of you this evening in connection with the request for a site plan amendment of a site plan you approved approximately 2 years ago. So I'm going to really focus on what has changed since that point in time. Next slide. The site itself is about 5.17 acres in size. It is properly zoned in the NCD district. It's the former Arbordale Nursery facility that was purchased approximately 2 years ago. And obviously the predominant land uses include single family along Dodge Road, along with multifamily. And then directly to the north, of course, is the 990. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. I have all these in my presentation. Next slide. We can go right to mine and then go. And there's an aerial photograph of the site. Next slide. Zoning map excerpt. Again, that NCD zoning that expressly permits the use we're proposing has been in place for more than 50 years. Next slide. So this is the original plan. You spent a great deal of time reviewing this project over the course of numerous meetings. in 2013 or 2023. Originally, what we're proposing was 5-story buildings in yellow. We then modified those down to 4-story buildings, and then based on additional input over the course of several public hearings, as well as an informational meeting with residents, we ultimately went down to 3 stories. The NCD zoning would have allowed the original height. And then you'll also notice we had a series of townhomes along the Dodge Road frontage, which are here, and a community building located here, which we've now removed. Next slide. This is the actual plan that you ultimately approved. Again, reducing it down to 3 stories for the larger multifamily buildings, which were 36 units per building, and then 5 2-story, 4-unit townhome buildings along Dodge Road, along with a clubhouse and 233 parking spaces. Next slide. So this is the amended site plan. So what we've done is the 2 3-story buildings, they are exactly the same building that was previously approved. However, they previously did include some 3-bedroom units. We've now modified that so they'll consist exclusively of 1 and 2-bedroom units. We've gotten rid of the community building along Dodge Road and just infilled that with an additional townhome building. So while it's a minor change, it has increased the density from 92 units previously approved to 108 units. It's also important to note, based on discussions with the supervisor's office and the IDA, we are going to now include a workforce housing component. 20% of these units will be leased at 80% of the AMI median income per workforce housing. That does require IDA approval. Next slide. This is a landscape plan. We're still providing extensive landscaping on all 4 sides. We do meet the high impact screening and medium impact screening requirements where applicable. Next slide. Lighting plan, important note, dark sky compliant, no lighting spillover onto any of the adjoining residential properties. Next slide. It's the elevation plan for the townhome buildings. Again, 2-story with attached garages along the Dodge Road frontage. Next slide. Elevation plan for the 3-story building. It is important to note that upscale materials will be utilized on all 3 sides. You can see we're having a residential style sloped roof, et cetera, et cetera. We spent a lot of time previously on the architecture of these buildings. Next slide. Floor plan, again, just to show that 3-bedroom units have now been modified to additional 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom units. That's more consistent with market conditions in 2025. Next slide. That's the original color rendering plan at 5 stories. And the only reason I'm showing this is both this board and the nearby residential neighborhood were vehemently objected to that height. And again, we went from 5 stories to 4 stories, all the way down to 3 stories over the course of several meetings in 2023. Next slide. That shows the townhome building, the color plan. You can see, again, emphasis made on providing a pedestrian-friendly environment along the Dodge Road frontage. Next slide. So one other aspect of this project is the IDA asked us to reach out to the Empire State Development Corporation, which previously, its predecessor, the UDC, actually owned this property and had jurisdiction over land use approvals for a long period of time. And on August 22nd of this year, they submitted a helpful letter. Basically, the letter states that they are in full support of what we're proposing, including the inclusion of that workforce housing component that will be 80% of Erie County's area median income for 20% of the units. There's a desperate need in the town of Amherst for workforce housing. So I think my client gets some credit for providing or helping provide that need. It is important to note that's the primary reason that we've eliminated the 3-bedroom units. They simply don't work for the workforce housing and gone with a larger mix of 1 and 2-bedroom units. It's also important to note that Amherst now is a pro-housing community, which means there really has to be an emphasis on affordable housing options, which is what we're doing. Next slide. In terms of the environmental review, it's basically the exact same documentation it was, except for the slight increase in the number of units. We do have a wetland letter confirming there's no jurisdictional wetlands. We have a sign-off letter from the New York State Office of Parks, Recreation, Historic Preservation. We have a traffic impact study that was prepared by Passero Associates, updated based on the modified layout. We also have submitted fully engineered plans. I believe those engineered plans, to a large degree, have been reviewed and approved by numerous town departments and committees. So I'm not going to go through all that. In the end, there was one topic that came up during the work session. If we can go back to the site plan, Dan. So Mr. Marshall mentioned during the work session that one of the findings that's in front of you this evening is recreational space. And again, we had the community building previously here. If you would like us to work with the planning department to eliminate some parking spaces and provide at least a green space area, maybe it'll be some playground equipment, some type of on-site recreational amenity, we would be fine doing that. We're overparked, and now that we've eliminated the 3-bedroom units, I think we can reduce the parking closer to what's required by the zoning code. Given this area on Dodge Road, we do want to make sure we have adequate on-site parking at all times. Parking within the public right-of-way of Dodge Road is not a feasible option. So with all that being said, respectfully, we would ask that you issue a negative declaration pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act and approve the amended site plan. And in your discretion, if you choose to elect to impose a condition that requires us to work with the planning department, provide an on-site recreational amenity area, we would absolutely be fine with that. If there's any questions, I would welcome the opportunity to address them. Thank you.
Thank you. John, any questions?
I have no questions.
Yes, John. Sorry. Yeah, you said.
Oh, I'm sorry, again.
You said you would consider providing recreational services. Do you know what space or how much space you would have available to do something like that?
I'd have to work that out with the planning department. I mean, I'm thinking there's probably some areas in this area where we can eliminate some parking in that center row and add a green space feature and a sidewalk connection.
No more questions.
Barb, any questions? No questions. Gary, any questions?
No questions.
Okay. Do we have anybody from the general public who has any questions or concerns they'd like to have addressed? Hearing none? Oh, I'm sorry. Come on up.
Hi, my name's Rebecca Hussick. I'm a resident on Dodge Road. Yeah, can you hear me better?
Great,
Can we
thank
get your
you.
address as well?
Yes, 395 Dodge Road.
Thank you.
First of all, I was not notified. None of my neighbors to the left of me, all the way to Audubon, we were never notified. And we're there. My house is probably 200, 300 feet away from where the construction is going to be. So for us to not be notified and have to hear it from other neighbors and be brought in is a little concerning. We still do not agree to the 3-story apartment building. It is a residential area. We don't have shoulders on our street. We don't have sidewalks on our street. The reason I moved there 10 years ago was because it was a nice rural area. It had nature, it had trees. Everything's going. I understand change is coming, change has to come, but it needs to be with consideration to the neighbors that have already lived there. I've only been there for 10 years. Most of my neighbors have been there for 20 to 30 years plus. They need to work with us as residents who own our properties. Since the apartments that have gone in already have been in, we have had break-ins in our cars that are parked in our driveways. We have had more accidents on our streets, not only vehicle accidents, but also the deer and everything. This is a really rural area. We need sidewalks. If they're gonna do this, we need sidewalks. We need areas where my kids can safely walk or play in the front yard without being afraid that their car is gonna come and swerve in. Our mailboxes have been taken out now numerous times. The green space. Right now, the other apartments they've already put in, their green space is on the front. The kids play on the front, and golf balls are coming across, baseballs, dodgeballs. That stuff is all coming across to the neighbors, which, again, it's going to happen. We're neighbors. It happens. But it's not safe. Our street does not have the capability for these apartments. There's just not room to keep it safe. The whole thing for us, if it's going to happen, we need sidewalks. They're saying, oh, they're downsizing, making smaller units. They're adding more people, which is going to add more cars. Our road cannot take more cars. We're already backed up from Campbell to Robin Road. It gets backed up with rush hour in the morning and in the evening. There's times where it even gets to my street where it's backed up. We don't have left-hand turn lanes. There's no shoulders for them or right turns or anything on either Dodge and Campbell and Dodge and Audubon. So to add all these cars in there, I don't know how the street is going to take it. My daughter is now 14 and she wants to ride her bike. I literally have to pick her bike up and take her across Campbell where there's shoulders for her to ride to her friend's house past Millersport. So ideally, it's not going to be a safe area for all these people to come in. We're talking, low housing, you're going from 92 to 108 residents. You're talking about downsizing the parking spaces now. There's no parking on the street as is. Where are you going to put when they have friends over, if they have a Christmas party, a birthday party? These people are going to be parking on our lawns now. So it's really something to take into consideration. You have beautiful renderings, but you're not seeing the big picture. You're not seeing what's actually there already. They showed the one picture of the townhouse street front. Across the street, they had a little person walking on a sidewalk. There's no sidewalk there. Where are they getting these They're making it look like it's this beautiful open area that you can put these sidewalks in and stuff. It's not. You're gonna bring in all this traffic. The other thing is, the whole street needs to be notified. It can't just be the 4 or 5 neighbors across from where this building is being done. It's not a big street. We're all going to be affected. So why aren't we all getting notified? Was there anything else I missed? No? Okay, sorry.
Thank you.
You're welcome, thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions or concerns regarding this specific project?
Hi, my name is Diana Zito. I live at 387 Dodge Road. And I would just like to reaffirm everything that was said concerning that we have no sidewalks. We have no shoulder. The shoulder is no wider, and I am not imagining it's no wider than what this platform is. And there is no way I have a dog. I walk my dog on that street, and I take my life in my hands because the street is immediately off of the 990. That is a very busy street, and the traffic doesn't go what the speed limit is, which should be 40. They come down our street at minimum 55 to 70 miles an hour. It is too busy to have this amount of more traffic on the street. I could say everything and reiterate everything that was already said. But I think the thing is that unless you see what it actually looks like, and she's absolutely right, these renderings, they are nothing like what it looks like. It is a very rural, country-looking street on that part of Dodge. It isn't until you get over past Campbell that the street widens. And it just cannot handle this. Plus the fact of them going to 3-story, it would be a monstrosity on a street that is all homes. And it's why when they originally, the Green Organization, put up the other apartments, we got them down to 2-story, which is far, that's a limit of how high any of these apartments should be on that street. And the other thing is, we didn't get notified except for the 6 houses. And there's 28 houses on that street, and yet only 6 houses were notified, give or take. Maybe it was 5. And it should have been all of us from Campbell up to John James that got notified because we are the only homes in that small area that exist with no sidewalks, no easements on the sides of the road, and it's a small country road because that's originally what that area was at one point. And I think the renderings that they show, I see the apartment building they already put up. It doesn't look anything like what they said, oh, we're going to take care of this and take care of that. The trees that they put out in front are broken. The bushes that they put in are never watered. Actually, their own sign has crumblings in the front of it because I walk that every day with my dog. So everything that they're saying about what they're going to do and how they're going to take care of it has yet to come to fruition. Thank you.
If I could, if there's anybody else beyond this woman here, you could line up behind her just so we have an idea. We don't have to keep calling you. It's okay.
Hi, my name's Brenda Burrow, and I live at 425 Dodge Road, pretty much across from where the original apartments are. They don't sit facing the road. I see them sideways. I see the side view of those apartments. The front, I'm sure, are beautiful. You know, from the renditions of them, I'm sure they're really nice. They're 2 stories. That's what we had asked for. My thought is, yeah, it used to be a country road. I grew up, this is where I've always been. And it's changed a lot, and it's continuing to change. And change is good. But it's a neighborhood. We're in the suburbs. It's a neighborhood. We would like to maintain that look of our neighborhood of 2-story houses, not a 3-story. 3-story, because once you add everything else on, it's really a little higher than that. Also, as far as the traffic, you know, I'll reiterate with everyone, it's hard to get out of our driveways in the morning and in the afternoon, anytime. It's very difficult in and out. And to add that much more, you know, people and cars in there is ridiculous. Niagara Falls Boulevard, Transit Road, those are our main roads in the town of Amherst. We have Main Street, Sheridan Drive, Maple. Those are the main thoroughs between those 2. So keep those your main commercialized streets. Don't make Dodge one of those commercialized streets. Keep ours a suburban street, and don't put all that traffic there that we don't need. Thank you.
I'm Siobhan Brown. I'm at 415 Dodge. I actually live right next to her. I was not notified either of this planning and this meeting. I just reiterate everything that my neighbors have said. The traffic is horrible already. I do service the area. I service the street in my business, and it's almost impossible for us to snowplow driveways as it is on that street. It's impossible to get out of our driveways. I also want to reiterate about the golf balls, the people in the front yards, walking past our homes, throwing garbage down. We're forever picking up garbage in our front yards. To bring that many more people in is just going to make that even worse. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Mary Kay Bellata. I'm at 501 Dodge Road, so I'm directly across from it. And I did get a letter. I've watched all week as all the green space was bowled over. I've seen some 3-story buildings because the insides, I don't know how tall it's gonna be, but I've seen some 3-story ones that are really tall because the inside ceilings are all vaulted. Yes, we don't have any sidewalks. In fact, in front of my house is a ditch. So, and there's a fire hall on the corner. Now, you have that much more traffic. How is the fire truck supposed to go? Because the cars can't go anywhere. So it is really dangerous on that corner. There is a sidewalk in front of my house. It goes down a couple houses and then just stops. And in front of my house, because I'm on the corner, it stops, and people with their dogs and everything just cut across my lawn. So, which I don't have a problem with now because there's no sidewalks. For their safety, they need to. But it would be nice to carry out the sidewalks. I have days where I can't even get out of my driveway because you got Robin Ridge in my driveway, and you've got traffic where I just can't get out. So adding more traffic, and if there are openings there, I'll never get out of my driveway. So thank you very much.
Is there anybody else from the general public who wishes to speak? or address any concerns? Hearing none, Mr. Hopkins, if you could respond, please.
Again, for the record, Sean Hopkins. So I, again, want to focus on the history of this project. Where we began was 5 stories with a much more intensive development based on input received from the residents that spoke this evening, as well as the planning department, as well as this board. We modified that plan. We already have an approved plan with 3-story buildings. The changes are very, very minimal, meaning while we're increasing the number of units from 92 to 108, because we're eliminating 3-bedroom units, the trip generation letter that was prepared by David Cruz of Pacero Associates indicated that during the peak hour, the increase in traffic would be 5 vehicles. Dodge Road, no, compared to what was already approved, It is important to note that is a county highway. I understand the concerns of the residents about ditches, sidewalks, et cetera, et cetera. We are installing new sidewalks along our frontage. The townhomes were deliberately added to the plan to try and mimic more of the residential character on the south side of the street. And again, this site is properly zoned and has been properly zoned for more than 50 years. So respectfully, subject to the one additional condition that we discussed, we would ask you issue the negative declaration and grant site plan approval.
Thank you. Okay, close the hearing on this. Okay, next, 330 Maple Road, item 2. Before you begin in this one, just again, what we're going to do with the entire petitioner presentation, just give you a sum of 21 minutes, instead of breaking it down by people, and then we'll afford the stage. So, who wants to speak first?
And before the petitioner starts, just for the benefit of the audience, the purpose of this request this evening is for the removal of 2 restrictions previously provided by the Amherst Town Board on June 2nd of 2008. Petitioner is asking for the removal of no single retail user shall be greater than 50,000 square feet in size. And the second request is that the maximum building height limitation of 50 feet for any structure be removed. This is a request of the planning board, which is a recommendation body to the town board.
Issues 1, 2, 5, 6, and 7, not requested. Correct?
Correct.
Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Brian McGrath, one of the principals petitioning for this. Mark Feinberg, one of my partners, and I will speak to why we think it's reasonable for the town to, or the planning board to grant us those 2 exemptions from the previous zoning, and Sean will speak to the specifics of that. But why do we want to put this in Amherst? Well, Amherst is, probably the single largest population within our region. It's one of the busiest places that we have within Western New York. And currently, you developed a sports complex, a medical complex around this area. The Northtown Center for Hockey is immediately adjacent to this.
Sir, I apologize for interrupting. Could I give you your address, business address, what you know for the record?
My business address would be 4225 Genesee Street, Cheektowaga.
Thank you.
So this is, basically the hub of sports and medicine within this area. You have the Northtown Center there. You have the softball and baseball fields immediately adjacent to that. You have UB Athletics right behind it and surrounded by the entire Audubon Golf Course. This land has been there for, it used to be the gun club when I was a kid. Nothing's been on that property for a number of years. Thanks. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to build on the remediated land that has been there for quite a while. The land is supported by town infrastructure. It is immediately adjacent to Maple Road, as you know, which is a highway. And we're designing this to complement, the sports environment around the property, as well as to be in conjunction with other sports facilities within the region, to help bring, more athletics to Western New York. This is going to be a world-class year-round sports destination. Western New York, as you know, lacks any true indoor facility for track and field that is, reasonably within our location. What we're building here is something that's designed really to host NCAA level events. And we want to have everybody there. This is for the youth to the geriatrics. We want to increase exercise in general in Western New York. And we're doing this based on a sports medicine complex saying we don't want to just build a big building. We don't want to build a bunch of fields for no reason. We want to make things better. We want to make people healthier. And we want to protect them while they're playing their sports. And we want to get them back after injury in the best possible way. We're going to build this around CPR trained staff. We have ACL prevention programs. Mark will speak to what we've learned from all the other athletic endeavors through the Bills and the Sabres and all the other major sports events throughout the country. Our goal is really to make this the safest place to play and practice sports in the United States. There's going to be 2 large domes, and that's probably the epicenter of this whole discussion. Why do they have to be so big? If they're not big, you can't have, full indoor facilities. We're building a track dome and a turf and field dome with a connecting building, which will act as a lobby and actually be more of a community space with a family entertainment center, food and beverage within there that the participants would need. In the dome, it's for the track side, it's a 6-lane, 200-meter bank track, and that is something that does not exist in Western New York. The sprinting lanes will be outside of that track so that it's a safer way for sprinters so they don't have to have a rapid deceleration ramp. Within that space, there'll also be basketball, volleyball, and pickleball convertible to any one of those 3 sports. In the turf field, there will be full indoor soccer pitch, which can be converted into football, baseball, lacrosse. It can be subdivided so we can play and practice multiple sports. And that dome will also have basketball, pickleball, and volleyball within it. There's a wellness component to this thing, which is probably the biggest single thing that we should be thinking about. We need to be able to get our people out in the winter months, which is basically from next week to sometime in June. But we don't have places to put our people and have them be able to exercise at this point in time. I think everybody in the room knows that. Everybody who's raised children in Western New York knows that as well. Go ahead. Next slide. We've had this analyzed by sports facility companies, looking at what is the economic impact of this to the region. And basically, it's looking at $20+ million a year in economic impact to the region by bringing in all of these sports, athletics, and exercise programs within this space. It's going to create hundreds of jobs, both in the construction and then in the maintenance of this type of program going forward. And we're looking to make this a destination for sports tourism. It is not the center pillar of it. The center pillar is to actually have places for our people to be able to exercise and play their sports. The other portion is something that just adds to our region's notoriety. Go ahead. So there is a large gap in what we have now to what we're going to have in the future.
Mark, right. How you doing? Mark Feinberg. I live in the village of Williamsville. I grew up in Williamsville. Went to Hyam Schools, Williamsville North. Left for my college and formal training, and moved back 26 years ago to join UB MD Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. Was a long-time UB head team doc for the Sabres for 20 years, and currently the doc for the Bills.
Sir, could I have the address for the record, please?
What's that?
Could I have the address for the record?
208 South Cayuga.
Thank you.
Sure. Yeah. Having grown up here, I realize we have a great sports culture, but quite frankly, there's not a premier sports indoor facility, which I see as I travel around the country, and we're seriously lacking that. As we went in to do the research for this facility, and we asked around what's needed, I surprisingly found out that the number one thing that's needed is an indoor track. Currently, what's happening is our track athletes are hopping on buses, the ones that can make it, driving down to Houghton College an hour in the winter storms, and that's where they're getting their indoor track meets. What we learned is that in addition to having to travel far, there is no bank track, and a bank track is really a premier track, is what really is preferred for competitions. And currently the only bank tracks in New York are in New York City, and that's where the state meets are held. And we hope to bring that type of track here and compete for state meets, which will be a regional draw and bring enormous economic impact. When it comes to youth leagues, going around trying to find courts, trying to find an indoor field facility, having taken my kids around, having looked for them, There's some places, but they lack the height and they lack the size to really have a meaningful lacrosse or football type game. Working for the Bills, working for UB, we're over at AdPro, we're at Murchie Fieldhouse. These are great facilities, but they're not available to our community. So our goal is to bring that type of facility to all of us in our community. Next. We want to set a new standard for safety in sports. We all know that regular physical activity, it reduces heart disease, reduces diabetes, reduces depression. Our goal is to get people off their couches, off their phones, bring them to the facility, give them an active place to get healthy. As team docs for the Bills and Sabres and UB, we've had some unfortunate incidents over the years, Kevin Everett, Damar Hamlin, and while those are tragic incidents, we have made some good use of those. In other words, we've had a lot of grants. What we've done is we've taken our athletic training outreach program, we've gone into our community and we've trained over 28,000 people in hands-only CPR. So we're making our community healthier. Our goal is that every person who comes in here has the opportunity to learn how to do hands-only CPR and how to learn how to use an AED. We're looking to save lives in our community, in addition to having an active place for our kids and our families to participate in sports. Brian mentioned ACL prevention, increased awareness for concussion. We've got access to data through the leagues that we take care of. Our plan is to have posters up that'll tell you which helmet to wear to minimize concussion. We'll have posters up telling you what cleats to wear on the specific turf that we had to minimize lower extremity injuries like ankle sprains and ACL injuries. This is a comprehensive program, a wellness program. It's collaborative. Everybody in this room, I look forward to pushing this forward, and I thank you for the opportunity for talking today.
Thank you.
So good evening once again, Sean Hopkins. I'm going to talk about the specifics of the project. But I do want to note that I've been coming in front of this board for approximately 28 years now, and I literally can say with 100% confidence, I think this is the best project that's ever come in front of the town of Amherst. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for the town, its residents, and the region, and I think that's very important. If we can go to the next slide. Next slide. This is an aerial photograph of the site. We all know this site. It's the Gun Club site. It was previously approved for a very intensive project, 2008, 2009. That never occurred. Subsequently was sold by Benderson to a student housing company, then contemplated a large student housing project there. That never moved forward. The town purchased it, and now what we're proposing is this once-in-a-lifetime integrated health facility with a 5-story hotel. Next slide. It is important to note this site is properly zoned, has been properly zoned for 17 years. It's zoned general business district, and then the frontage, the first 101 feet from Maple Road, is zoned recreation conservation. That was done so that that area would remain green space. We're proposing to keep that as green space. We're going to enhance it with berms, landscaping, et cetera, et cetera. Next slide. Site plan specific. So this is the conceptual layout that was submitted with our application. The site itself is 21.3 acres in size. I've mentioned that 101-foot conservation area. The building itself is 2 domes. Dome A, 137,500 square feet, which is the track that the previous doctor spoke about. And then Dome B is the multi-sport, also 137,500 square feet, with that connecting feature, which would be 50,000 square feet. We are showing 493 parking spaces on site, which we think is more than adequate. And I want to make it clear the setback of that building, there's no denying the fact the athletic facility itself is a large building. However, it is set back 330 feet from the Maple Road frontage. Maple Road itself, which is a county highway, is about 100 feet in width. So literally from the south side of Maple Road, we're 430 feet, just to give you perspective. That is a very, very large setback. Next slide. The zoning conditions Mr. Ulatowski mentioned, we're asking for 2 of them to be modified. Zoning condition 3 and zoning condition 4, imposed by the town board back on June 2nd, 2008, which would allow there to be a single retail user, more than 50,000 square feet, and then secondly, for the maximum building height to exceed 50 feet. It is important to note that in the GB zoning district, the maximum building height permitted is 65 feet. Next slide. Next slide. So again, we've really thought this project out well in terms of the project layout, the scope of the facilities, the programs that will benefit from the use of this particular project. I've mentioned the 100-foot landscape green space area or conservation area along the frontage. We'll work with the planning department to decide the exact specifics of the berms, the trees, et cetera, et cetera. The original plan that we showed to the town showed a white exterior finish. We were advised that that would be too much of a contrast. So at an expense, we've upgraded that to a premium gray and silver exterior finish for the dome structure. We will be implementing sound and light reduction measures, berms, dark sky compliant lighting, landscape screening, et cetera, et cetera. The fourth bullet point is very important. This site was a brownfield. It was the former gun club. It now has been environmentally cleaned up pursuant to the brownfield cleanup program, and the tax credits that are in place for that will expire. Why does that matter? Why it matters is because if those tax credits expire, this site will continue to sit vacant. It could sit vacant for the next 10, 20, or 30 years. This is that, again, once in a lifetime opportunity to finally develop this site that's been slated for development for at least 2 decades. And Dr. McGrath talked about how this will integrate with other nearby sports facilities. I think it will certainly do more than an adequate job in terms of accomplishing that goal. Next slide. The elevation plan. So the original plan was 100 feet. Next slide. We reduced that down to 85 feet based on input received from the planning department. Next slide. Visual impact plan. There's no denying the fact that if you're on Maple Road, you will see this building. We're not hiding that fact. However, again, it is set back 330 feet. We'll install berms, and over time, the landscaping that we'll plant will provide some visual buffering. But you will see it. I don't think that's a big deal in terms of sight lines, et cetera, et cetera. Again, a site that's been designated for development for 20 years. And in fact, the original approved development, in my opinion, was more intensive. Next slide. It is consistent with the comprehensive plan. So if you look at figure 6, it designates this site specifically for commercial and mixed use. Exactly what we're doing. It fulfills the town's long-established economic goals and policies to a T, as set forth in the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan does also contain language on the key aspects of health and wellness goals. And again, as both Dr. McGrath and Dr. Weinberg indicated, we'll be meeting those goals as well. Next slide. So while you will not be the lead agency, the town board will. This is subject to an environmental review pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act. We have provided very extensive documentation that I'm going to summarize as concisely as I can. Next slide. Number 1, the cleanup of the brownfield. I've mentioned that. That has occurred. That occurred all the way back in 2011 and 2012. And the DEC has certified that as of 2012, this site is now remediated. So there's no more concerns about the previous contamination. Next slide. We did provide a traffic impact study prepared by Labella. That has been submitted to the Erie County Department of Public Works. Labella has been in contact with them, and we will be expecting comments. If you look at what we're proposing, I want to make clear one thing. Our main driveway onto Maple Road would be a signalized driveway. At our cost, we'll be installing a driveway with a signal, and then the western driveway would be gated emergency access only. The sole reason we're doing that, and while Mr. Raphael is not here this evening, is to comply with the requirements of the New York State Fire Code. Next slide. We have received a no impact letter issued by the New York State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation. We've also made a submission to the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation addressing some potential wetland impacts. It is important to note that in 2021, Scott Livingston from Earth Dimensions did walk the site, and at that point, there were no wetlands on the site. That's a minor topic that we'll be dealing with as we move forward. Next slide. So with all that being said, really what's in front of you this evening is very limited. A modification of the 2 zoning conditions. The town board will ultimately hold a public hearing on that request during its meeting on November 10th. We think if you look at the project, look at the benefits of the project, look at the location of the dome structure, that there's more than ample justification to recommend approval by the town board. So with all that being said, based on the extensive documentation we've previously submitted, respectfully, on behalf of the project team, we are asking that you adopt a resolution recommending the town board approve the modification of 2 of the zoning conditions imposed all the way back in 2008. If there's any questions, there's multiple members of the project team here this evening, and we would welcome the opportunity to address them. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. O'Rourke, any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Hopkins, and your team. A lot of benefits, certainly something that would be a positive for that location. As you know, I was on this board from 2002 to 2015, so the 2008-09 approval was very contentious, and it went on for quite some time, even though we were simply a recommendation, I believe, at the point. One of the topics that came up a lot was the height. And basically, everything that's been discussed has been wonderful, except for there's that height that's sitting out there that we were in a position where we had to say, okay, 65 feet is allowable by the code, but to get this done, we've got to do better than that. And that's why we were given a condition, you were given a condition of 50 feet. And I guess my question to you is, it been looked at to see if these can be, I don't know, as a layman, just kind of pushed underground a little bit, bringing the floor
No,
level?
I understand the question, Mr. Rourke. So yes, that has been looked at by the Labella team that's here this evening. And basically, a determination has been made that if we did that, the problem is it's going to create drainage issues. We do have to install a stormwater management system. We have to make sure we can convey stormwater runoff into Maple Road. So that 85 feet under the current plan is the minimal height that's necessary to provide that broad range of scope of services that we're proposing. The original plan that we submitted, or at least met with the planning department, showed that dome structure much closer to Maple Road. We received input saying, can we push it to the back of the site? We immediately made that change. So I guess what I would ask you to consider is not just the height of the building, but the placement of the building. Of course, 330 feet being longer than an NFL football field, plus an additional 100 feet for Maple Road. So we think in terms of perspective of that overall very large site, 23.1 acres, it makes sense. And if we were forced to consider reducing the height, the project simply is not feasible per the scope that's been determined.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Davis, any questions?
The only question I have is, have you ensured that there are adequate services and utilities at that site for development?
So that due diligence is ongoing. One thing that gets triggered by any project that's going to generate more than 2,500 gallons of sanitary sewer per day is the need to prepare what's known as a downstream sanitary sewer capacity analysis. Dave Johnson and Jay Monin from Labella are here. They have ordered that data, so that all will need to be verified prior to construction. It is important to note that if you think about the dome facility itself, in terms of sanitary sewer, it's really not going to demand that much. We do have adequate water demand and stormwater management we can handle on site. So the one somewhat unknown, although a lot of due diligence has been done, is sanitary sewer capacity. But if we weren't confident that we would have sanitary sewer capacity, we would not be proceeding with the project.
You said that it wouldn't demand that much. Can you quantify that much?
Dave, do you know, can you quantify the, come on up.
Hi. Yes, Dave Johnson with Labella Associates. We are in the process of doing the
Put your address down for the record, please.
Sure, it's 9691 Knoll Road, Eden, New York. We are in the process of, well, we've been working with the town of Amherst, town engineer. We've gotten the nodes to study. We've actually contracted with TechSmith to do the metering and verifying that. We have estimated flows with a peaking factor of about 43,000 gallons per day. However, that will go with whatever metering we have. If we have to do any kind of storage and treatment on site, we will do that. So it'll be whatever recommendations come through. But as Sean was saying, if we didn't feel we could do it, we wouldn't be here presenting this. So we have solutions for whatever we plan on doing, but a design going to get the specific details you'll be looking for.
I also want to note for the record again, where we are in the process. So this is a request for relief from zoning conditions. If we get through that project, or if we get through that process, which we think we will, then we will be coming in front of you for site plan approval. And at that point in time, the more detailed technical information will certainly be available, not only for this board, but for the public.
And I was just going to follow up on that, just so the general public understands, whatever the vote goes on here tonight, that doesn't mean shovels are going to the ground tomorrow. The site plan must come first amongst other steps, correct?
That is correct. That site plan application has been filed and is under review.
Thank you. Harv, any questions?
Yes. Mr. Hopkins, you mentioned that in your 28 years of coming in front of the board, you find this the best project, which you think is best for the community. And I've lived in this area for more than 40 years. My kids went to Maple West. Very familiar with this, and I do believe that such a sports complex would be a very positive contribution to the community. My question, my engineering background begs to ask that these are domes, air-supported structures,
Correct.
I imagine. So maybe is that the reason why the height is so high?
It is. So based on the use of a dome structure, that dictates the height. And by way of comparison, literally, if we didn't use a dome structure, there is absolutely 0% chance that this project would be in any way economically feasible. It would literally almost double the cost per square foot. And that's why that's an essential aspect of the particular project.
So a solid structure would be prohibitively expensive.
It would.
Is that what I hear?
The other thing I want to make clear for the record, so if you travel throughout the United States and elsewhere, if you see these projects where they're very few and far between, generally speaking, they are government owned and government financed. So this is different, meaning we have two very successful physicians along with their investors that are going to make a private investment in the town of Amherst in West New York. And I think that's a key attribute that we need to keep in mind. We hear a lot of complaints about projects, not only in the town of Amherst, but elsewhere where the applicant is a governmental agency. That is not the case here. This is a collaboration of many parties. So we really think that is something you should consider as well. Because without them, without the physicians that are developers that are interested in this project, it simply doesn't move forward. And we think it's essential that it does move forward.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Carrie, any questions?
Yes, I do have a question. Sean, any other domes that were built sort of similar to this in other cities of the same magnitude?
I'll let Dave or Jay, anyone want to take a shot at that? There are.
I don't have the specifics on them, but when we were looking at some of the different height things, because we knew this was going to be a topic of discussion, we found that there were 14 in New York State of similar size and similar height. We can get those to you, those locations to you if you want. We can get pictures of those to you if you would like to see those. But our architectural team has been looking into that. There are several around. There was one just recently in Tonawanda. So we have the information of those if you'd like us to provide that. But yes, there are several in New York State. There are several along the East Coast beyond that, but there are 14 that we know of done by the same company here in New York.
And of course, we live in Western New York, so are they durable with our blizzards and our snow?
They're super durable. So the company who would be doing these is Asati. This is what they do. And we had questioned that as well and how they work, but they work very well in these environments. And in fact, there is a 20-foot impervious zone around all of the domes that are for the water runoff. And then we've incorporated that into our site plan to pick that up and do the stormwater treatment for that. So yes, they have specific requirements, but they are made for these environments.
I think Dr. McGrath also has some more information on that particular question.
Sure.
So two things. One, just point out, Ron said the cost is twice, it's triple to do it with a solid structure building. You've all seen a solid structure building that's big enough and high enough to do this. It's called AdPro. You can see it from the other side of Lake Erie. They don't get smaller just because they're made out of something that's hard. So when we were looking at this, we tried to do this public-private, and then finally we just decided we would just do it all private and try to get to a point where we could do something that is economically feasible and something that Mark and I could actually accomplish while we're still on this mortal coil. Otherwise, it would take forever, and as Sean has said, if we can't get what we want, we simply won't be able to do it. That's as simple as it gets. And we won't have the sports facilities that we need in Western New York for our kids to practice and play in, and for our seniors to be able to exercise in 45 minutes a week or more. Those are just things that just don't currently exist out there. But to say that we going to the dome structure, and why going to the dome structure is a significant decrease in the cost of the project, which makes it feasible. And my son goes to Michigan State, so I had the opportunity after we started meeting with the Saudi to actually go and see one of their most recent domes. It's in Chandler Park, right outside of Detroit. It is so much nicer than the domes that we have around here, structurally and visually. And then what we've changed that with is the outside, texture to it and coloring, so that it won't be looking like the white domes that we have around here that'll, actually they kind of blend in the environment for 9 months out of the year. They're white on white, but this will be more of the forest colors around there that people are asking for. So that's cost and size. And the reason Mark and I were talking to the Asadi people, they've been doing this for 75 years. They're out of Syracuse, a New York State company. And they have one that's been standing in Anchorage, Alaska for over 20 years. And hundreds, if not thousands of them around the country. So we have great belief that they have the integrity to actually construct the domes that we need here.
Thank you. Okay, you good, Carrie?
I'm great, thank you.
Okay. I do assume there are some people here who wish to speak. As I've noted before, the first person is going to be deemed the community spokesperson. So I don't know if you've decided who that's going to be, but that person's going to get up to 21 minutes to speak. So if there is anybody from the general public, I'd ask you to line up and go ahead. I'm gonna end the hearing if there's nobody. I feel like there's somebody who wants to speak, but not. Okay, there, you see. Yeah, and let me remind you, if you don't want to speak for 21 straight minutes, you don't have to, but.
Speak that one. Donald Lawrence from Lockport, New York, longtime Western New York athlete.
Specific address, please.
22 Coolidge Avenue.
Thank you.
In Lockport. The 716 Fieldhouse Indoor Track would be an invaluable resource for the entire community, providing a safe space for people of all ages, exercise, and participate in healthy activities. As the current USA Track and Field Niagara president and a leader in the Western New York track and field community, local practice and competition site will be a very welcomed reality. USA Track and Field regional events will also be entertained for the USATF to host, for athletes to travel into Amherst and the Buffalo Niagara region. Western New York High Schools, Section 6, as mentioned, track and field athletes currently travel over an hour to gain access to Houghton University. This location eliminates schools such as Newfane, Wilson, Barker, Albion, and others from participating. Thank you for your support and consideration of the 716 Fieldhouse.
Thank you. Is there anyone else like to be heard on this? Sir?
Dan Ryder, 38 Garden Parkway in the Village. This is a great idea. I first saw it last week, and very quickly, and I noticed the one sheet of plans that showed a whale-shaped dome 100 feet high. I don't think I was supposed to see that. I knew this meeting was coming up. I got on the website Tuesday afternoon to look for that drawing. Okay, the website wouldn't open. Okay, I thought that was a little strange. So then I tried real late on Wednesday night. It should have been much use. Still wouldn't open. I was able to open it this afternoon, and I got, there's between 600 and over 1,000. There's 400 and some odd pages that has to do with this project, okay? I could not find the profile view or elevation view of these whales, okay? And as I started out, this conversation, I said, I think this is a nice idea, okay? But I wonder if you informed the people that live on the south side of Maple Road about this project. Personally, it doesn't bother me because I don't live on Maple Road. I don't go down there that often, okay? Maybe I should and get some exercise. But have you followed all the town procedures for notifying the neighbors? Okay, and this, I'm not surprised about the website problem because I've heard that over and over again on projects that it's not up there. So if I lived on Maple Road, I would feel I got shortchanged. I don't live on Maple Road, but the members of the planning board are supposed to be looking out for all residents, okay? And that includes the people on the south side of Maple Road. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anybody else who wishes to be heard before we have a response from the petitioners?
Hi, my name is Kelsey Ryan. I'm an Amherst resident at 34 Coolidge Drive. I also own Snyder Track and Field, a business in Williamsville, and I'm an assistant coach at Damon University. Just a couple things I want to say. Number one, this would have a huge positive influence on the track and field community. I have youth track and field programs that have brought in over 2,000 youth athletes into our camps and clinics, cross-country teams and outdoor track teams. But we have been completely unable to do youth indoor track because there's just no facility to do proper training and competitions. So this would be huge for us from the youth track perspective. From the college perspective, again, we really have no place to practice. Like was mentioned, constantly driving to Houghton University, but very limited there. And I'm very aware that high school teams are extremely limited in what they can do, where they practice and where they compete for indoor track. So this would be a huge benefit there. But just one other thing I wanted to mention, my business and my facility is extremely small compared to what these developers are doing, and I don't know them personally, but I do know that it's a business that's not a get-rich-quick business. It's something where you're doing this because you really want to help the community. So I commend them immensely, putting this kind of money forward. A private entity doing that is so rare. So to have that opportunity, I would hate to see additional barriers put upon this and have this not happen because of that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Again, Rebecca Hussick, 395 Dodge Road. I think this is fantastic. My kids do sports. We're at Northtown Center a lot for softball and hockey. The area that it's in, it's a public area. So even though the height is big, what they're doing to make it fit that area is fantastic, and what they're doing for the community is fantastic. My only suggestion, because I just learned about this, is hopefully you guys have an indoor facility for baseball and softball in the winter, because our teams will love that. But I think it's a great opportunity for Amherst to, it just opens up, we're traveling out to Hamburg, we're traveling out to East Aurora for indoor facilities for baseball and softball specifically. So this is just going to open up to the community, open up areas for the kids to go to, and for other teams to be able to come and just drive in more business here, even for the hotels that are here for tournaments and stuff like that. So I do think making these adjustments will benefit our town in the area.
Thank you.
Ed Greenway, 65 Lori Lee, Williamsville, New York. I've been a coach in Williamsville for 40 years, and as I would echo some of our previous speakers on the idea that when we have individuals that want to impact our community, it's a tremendous asset that we should be very thankful for. Having said that, when we look at a project like this, we look at it how it's impactful on multiple ages. When we talk about youth sports, I run the Amherst Lacrosse Association for 30 years. The youth sports that will benefit from this, having a facility in their backyard to be able to continue to aspire, learn, grow, have those experiences that we all have when we participate in sports. Speaking from a coach that has coached lacrosse for 40 years in Western New York, there is no indoor facility other than the NARC that we have been utilizing over the last 30 years, which is an asset that we only have here in the town of Amherst, and very thankful for that. But I think when we look at the big picture, even speaking about the whales, I don't think they're going to be whales, but those people that have lived across that street, they've looked at the UB Stadium since that was incorporated with the World University Games, large stadium that is in their front yard. When we look at the byproduct of having a facility for all seniors, everybody, and the health, I think right across your street, you can walk to that would be a benefit for them. So thank you, and I hope you support this particular great endeavor.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Jason Bibler, 231 Walton Drive. I have been involved in track and field my whole life. I've had the pleasure of being a coach for nearly 30 years. My current appointment is at Amherst High School as both the head indoor and outdoor track and field coach. In addition to those duties, I have the privilege and the honor of serving Section 6 as one of 2 indoor track and field chair people. One of the duties that we embark on every single season is trying to find a suitable facility for nearly 2,000 athletes to compete and show their hard work and dedication and show off their talents every single year. The task would seem complicated, but it really isn't, because we only have 2 facilities to actually go and basically beg to allow them to let us come in and, at the sacrifice of their own private entities, their students, to let us come in as guests and contest our meets. As it's been obviously stated, the facility of our choosing and our preference is down in Houghton, New York. For my student athletes, that entails being on a school bus for over an hour and a half to get to the site and another hour and a half to come back. What we're finding is year after year, we rely on the generosity of these facilities, and what we're also finding is that every single year, these opportunities are coming less and less. They have the commitments to their own student bodies. To not be overstating it, if the consensus of these facilities were to change, where they would not welcome us, our sport would no longer be in existence. This 716 complex is imperative for our sport to continue to exist. And the best part is what we're looking at will be top-notch. It wouldn't be just something that we are grateful to have the honor of using. It would be something that we'd be so proud of, both as coaches, student athletes, but as a community. And I certainly support that I hope that you continue to support this project moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Evening. Steve McDonald, 17 Crystal Springs Lane, resident of East Amherst, current president of Amherst Soccer Association. I just want to foot stomp a lot of what's said here in terms of positive support of the project. I think it's a tremendous idea. I think it's actually a relief valve for space and availability for all our youth sports organizations in town. Just speaking for our organization, we put out a lot of tentacles to get a lot of space for renting for our players, and we're always busting at the seams. I know there's other sports organizations in town that are growing, and we're always looking for space. And I just want to say that I think this would be a boon for the area. And at the risk of repeating a lot of what's already said, just support all the positives that have been thrown this way for this. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Cheryl Patterson, and I live at 365 Maple Road, right across from what you're going to be building. I really am so glad that a sports complex would be used for that land rather than just more apartments and housing. And I'm really glad that you have in the back of your mind the health of our community and our senior citizen population. But I do have a question because I do live right across the street. First of all, I want to say thank you for making it beautiful, as you can, because I'm going to be looking at it. But I know that when we used to have fireworks at UB, they used to park in that area, the gun club. And then when the fireworks were over, the traffic was terrible. But I was wondering, like, when there would be big sports events there, is there going to be access other than Maple Road to get to the parking lot so that, you know, there would be a lot of cars for these, you know, statewide or international, whatever meets that would be going on? I assume that they would be having other access roads to the parking lot other than just Maple Road. Do you know?
We'll have the petitioner address that after all the questions are in.
Yeah, because I think that would be very important. I can't imagine all those people just coming out onto Maple Road. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening, Bill Maher. I'm the Vice President and Director of Athletics at Canisius University, former town resident for 20 years, and just be part of the chorus of supporters here and point out one thing that the questions have been, some of the questions have been around the size of the structure.
Sir,
and
if I missed your address, I apologize. Can you put your address down for the record, please?
I live in the town of Tonawanda now, but I was a 20-year resident of the town of Amherst.
I just need your current address for the record.
215 Louvain Drive.
Thank you.
Right. And the size of the structure is imperative for the town to realize the full economic impact and the events that could be brought into the structure, into the community. A full-size soccer field, a full-size track are critical for the community, for the structure to be able to host the events that would be necessary. And I would say one of the limitations that always comes up is structures are not built big enough, and that causes a problem for being able to host events. And I think that's one of the key reasons why the size and the way that they're going about this is really a smart design and will benefit everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
It looks neater. I like that better. I like that better.
Good evening, Doug Hofsass, 5933 Main Street here in Williamsville. Two comments I'd like to make. One is, how many stories have there been over the last 2 years about how many folks are leaving New York and going to other places? This is a story about keeping New Yorkers in New York and keeping them in Amherst. We don't need folks traveling long distances, going other places in the state and going out of state for these kind of services and academics. In addition to that, if you think about the extended complex, this is an all-in-one solution for the community. There's medical support, there's sport, there's fitness, there's health, there's an opportunity for the public. This is a great opportunity for the community. Secondly, having spent a lot of time downstate in the city, you know, it was in the late 1800s that Flushing Meadows had a concept called the US Open. It wasn't until 1978 that across the street they opened the new USTA Tennis Center, which is now the home of the US Open. All politics, all communities are local. Support your community, build from within, and the structure around it will support it. I think it's a fantastic idea. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Corinne Genovese, 30 Belvoir. Just to echo all of everybody who has spoken before, as a former athlete from Western New York area, growing up, running the halls of high schools, having to travel, as mentioned, out of Western New York, out of Buffalo to go to other sports complexes, I just love the ability that our community here is really buying into keeping talent in Western New York. And I know we're talking a lot about track and field, but what's most impressive for me is the ability to service all the other athletic programs as well, all the other sports, the excitement that it's really portraying throughout the town. It's echoed, it's very loud, and we cannot thank you guys enough for considering the project. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir?
Hello, everybody. My name is Britton Mann. I'm an assistant coach at Buffalo State University with the track and field team. I'm also a resident. I grew up in Williamsville, but graduated from Clarence High School. On a personal level,
Do you need your address, sir?
yeah,
for the record.
1300 Elmwood Avenue is Buffalo State's university.
Thank you.
So I grew up in Clarence, and having to travel an hour, hour and a half to Fredonia or Houghton was a big thing. I remember specifically getting stuck in a snowstorm to go to their, on the bus on the 90 on the way back to actually do that. So speaking from a personal standpoint, I think it would, one, be a big safety precaution, and also keep our kids in-house in the Amherst area. I know there's over 45, 50 high schools just in this county alone that have to travel over an hour to actually compete in their track and field meets. So one, I think that's a giant thing to keep them in home, have them compete here, practice here. Another thing, speaking from the collegiate level, having a banked track in Western New York would raise the stakes for collegiate track around here and high school track. For our championship meets, we have to travel. Last year, we had to travel to Nazareth for the Division III National Championships, and they have a flat track, and that's normally not a normal thing to compete on for a championship meet on a flat track. This year, we have to fly down to Alabama just to get a banked track. We had to fly down to Virginia to have something at home in our own backyard would be massive. I think for not only the track and field community collegiately, but also high school, it would raise the level of our athletes. It would raise the bar. And honestly, at Buffalo State, we have an indoor track, but it is nowhere near to what this 200-meter bank track would be. So many times I go out recruiting to meets, and I hear there's officials coming up to me that are 60, 70 years old, and they're like, when are we going to get a bank track at Buffalo State? And obviously we have conversations about it, but financially, through state funding, sometimes isn't the most feasible option. The fact that this would be privately funded is like a golden egg opportunity for the community. And again, I think, to speak like someone else spoke before me, people don't put money in this just for the profit of it. They put it in because they care about the community, they care about raising the level of not only the athletics, but also the fitness of the entire area. So thank you, guys.
Thank you.
How's everybody doing? So my name's Spencer Karen Presley, 712 Ashland Avenue, Buffalo, New York. I'm also the assistant coach at University of Buffalo. This is a phenomenal thing to see, right? This 200-meter bank track, it will be one of its kind. The nearest 200 bank track is in New York City. There are two of them there. The next closest is either Michigan or Penn. And as someone who's both coached here at the collegiate and high school level, the one thing I see and have seen, especially in the recruiting level, is the amount of injuries that have occurred at the high school level. A lot of times athletes are on the track up until, let's say, November, and then out of nowhere, they're being on hallways. And for me, I coached at Canisius High School for a little bit. The amount of athletes I lost to injury was absurd. With this being something here that is going to help the community, help the youth grow, this is just awesome to see, and this is going to be something that's truly a game changer. I am from New York City, pretty much. I actually ended up running at the Armory, not ever running at Ocean Breeze, but for us, especially in the high school level, we were able to go to the Armory, practice there once a night, and it changed our results. It changed people's future. It changed the direction that a lot of youth can go. And with people stuck in the hallways, especially once it starts snowing, it's interesting to say. But I do love where you guys are going with this. And I do think it's going to help everybody else, especially from a recruiting and retention aspect and everything. In the Division I level, we also can only go to mainly Division I meets. So our closest meet is either Kent, Akron, or Spire, or Cornell. If this is also going to be something that introduces the collegiate level as well and brings together, I'll say, us, Binghamton, Albany, Syracuse, This is going to see a tremendous aspect in the recruiting game. See a lot of colleges in the area, and also keep people in New York. I see a lot of athletes going to places like Ohio, Michigan, Pennsylvania, places where they do have an indoor facility. And especially when you think about Western New Yorkers, it's about how can we keep them home, right? So again, this is a tremendous thing. Loving the direction it's going, but just want to come here, share the insight from a collegiate coach as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello this evening. Robert Fox, 8896 Woodview Drive, Colden, New York. I'm up here on behalf of Runner's Roost. My wife and I are the current owners of a Western New York staple for running and walking footwear and accessories. We have a East Amherst location. We're approaching 5 years, 42 years in Orchard Park. When this was approached about this time last year, we feel it was significantly important for the community to have one. We hear a lot of feedback from different runners throughout, just not the competitive level, but the level of just staying healthy and out there having fun. Approaching this season, where the weather changed last year alone, the ice and snow was rough. Talk about the last speakers talk about injuries as athletes. We've had even employees within house just slip and fall where they had to have quad surgery out for a run on ice. I can believe Dr. Feinberg could probably even take how many surgeries they had last year just from ice falls. But it is important for the community for it to be in Amherst. It's central to Western New York to be able to get here. And I think there's no other infrastructure to be able to have this, and the location seems to make sense with it not being utilized accordingly now. So I'm in position.
Thank you.
Hello, how you doing? Dan Gronkowski. I'm an Amherst resident. Grew up in Amherst, 337 North Rockingham Way. Previously NFL athlete, so speak on more the athlete side here. But just growing up in Amherst, I had a chance actually one time with my buddy Pete over there to talk at, was it Williamsville? You were listening, right? About playing at Williamsville South. All our Williamsville North football games were Williamsville South. Everyone played at Williamsville South, but I didn't go up to the podium that day, so nothing happened. And I think about for 15 years before they did anything at the other facilities. Now they have beautiful facilities and stuff like that. But I'm trying to make the point is what I figured out was, I guess there's a lot of things that make you tough and are good for you in life, but having crappy facilities or no facilities at all does not help you, and it does not make elite athletes. So the reason I'm up here today, I have 5 kids now, and they're all athletes. And from 11 to 1, living in Amherst, we go to the Northtown Center. We travel all over the country in sports, and I want to keep them here. So that's the big thing. Sorry, I'm actually thinking about my kids right now. Whoa. But yeah, this is a huge opportunity for Amherst. I mean, these guys are putting up their own money for it. I mean, what better can you ask there? So, great thing they're doing. I want to speak on 85 feet high. I mean, when you're playing football or other sports, like that's not that high. When you're playing baseball, that's not that high. I mean, these facilities in other states are absolutely beautiful. When you go up to them, you're like, all right, game's on, here we go. This is the coolest facility. Why are we trying to make this shorter then, instead of making this big and beautiful, make this the center of Amherst? You're gonna get world-class athletes and stuff like, I mean, the coolest people coming in to these facilities. So, yeah, awesome project, and let's get it going.
Thank you. Do we have anybody else that has any concerns or questions for the petitioners? Okay. Hearing none, I'd ask the petitioners. Virtually everyone that spoke was in support. There wasn't really much to respond to, but there were a couple of questions on here. The second gentleman that spoke, and I'm not really sure this is for you necessarily, Sean, wanted to know if people were notified in the general area. Is that something we can address up here? Okay.
Yeah, within 600 feet, we notify everyone of the project.
Okay. Sorry, to your question earlier, I wanted to have this addressed for you. I don't know if this was something that was appropriate for Sean or not. Anyone within 600 feet of the project was notified. Okay? And the only other question that I recall from anybody, unless you heard something different from me, was with regard to traffic in and out. I know you addressed it a little bit. Could you reiterate, please?
Yeah, Mr. Lukowski, could we go back to the overall site plan? Here we go. So first, I want to note again, we have prepared a traffic impact study that's been provided to the Erie County Department of Public Works, the agency that has jurisdiction over Maple Road. Anyone who knows this stretch of Maple Road, which I do, I travel down it numerous times a week, knows that one of the issues is speed. So what we're proposing to do is to install a signal that I think is much needed. That signal would be located there. That'll accomplish several things. Number one, it'll ensure safe access in and out of the site. Number two, it'll actually create a little bit of traffic speed reduction because there's such a long stretch of Maple Road there where people, while there is, I believe, a speed limit of 45 miles an hour, it's not uncommon to see vehicles traveling faster. In terms of peak traffic at athletic events, again, the goal is to have as many athletic events as we can here. We don't know the schedule yet, but we have designed the layout, or Labella has, to accommodate this area is literally for school bus pickups and drop-offs. When college teams travel, they travel by bus. We've seen them. We heard Mr. Gronkowski. Football teams travel with a lot of buses. So we have the ability to accommodate bus traffic on site. With all that being said, we have the gated emergency access as well. We do appreciate that that one woman who lives directly across the street on Maple Road has expressed her support. This is a world of difference compared to what occurred when the project was being reviewed in 2007, 2008. Mr. Rourke remembers very, very well. It was very controversial. There was considerable opposition. This evening, what we heard was everyone's in support. People you never hear from. College athletes, former pro athletes, people that are representative community and wellness businesses. So with that, all that being said, and all the information, and given the tremendous public support tonight and elsewhere, respectfully, we do ask you issue a positive recommendation to the town board. We think if you look at the site, look at what it will accomplish, that we've provided you with more than ample justification, and as such, that's what we are going to ask that you do this evening. If there's any other questions, of course, we would welcome the opportunity to address them.
And I do think you said with regard to that light, that's at petitioner's expense.
I mean, in all likelihood, we would love the county to pay for it, but I've been at this a long time. Mr. O'Rourke shaking his head. If it can't be paid for by a governmental agency, which I'm quite confident can't, then yes, it would of course be at the project sponsor's expense.
Thank you. Just wanted to reiterate.
And I do want to note, I think a signal is needed there today to slow down traffic.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. All right. Hearing that, I will close the hearing.
Ready.
Okay. That's it for the public hearings right now. Do we want to get started with votes, or does anybody need a break? You want a timeout?
Take a break.
Yes. 5 minutes, okay?
Yeah.
We'll take a 5-minute break, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm shocked that nobody from Maple Road showed up. I'm shocked that nobody from that neighborhood showed up. Because they were the. I'm shocked. Absolutely blown away. Didn't say a word. They didn't say a word. I mean, I came into this ready to vote no. Now I'm not. I mean, they can do a better job in front of you. They couldn't, I think there's a couple things I'll talk about.
Yep. It's like you've been doing this a while. It's like you've been doing this a while. He's got the gavel. Where's the gavel? What, are you trying to get to the Mumford and Son show? Wise guy. Go ask Gronkowski Jr. for an autograph. Ron Gronkowski's brother. Brother.
Oh.
Big guy. Ron Gronkowski is the brother. He's the superstar.
Right.
Yeah.
And which one is this?
I don't know. I didn't get the first name. I just heard the last name.
Oh, you changed it.
But you can, if you look at them, you can see the similarities in their faces. It's funny. Yeah, I don't know why they're just sitting.
Okay.
All right. All right. Don't forget your conditions and to do seeker first, or I'll get fired.
Okay, let's start with item number 1. This is 468, 496 Dodge Road. Start with the seeker determination. Is there a proposal?
I'm going to move on the neg deck.
We have a move to approve the negative declaration. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Carrie. Roll call, please. Yes.
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 Passes 5-0. Now with regard to the site plan, is there any discussion that anyone wants to have? And I would point out that there was some discussion about bringing back recreational areas or anything like that. I believe what Mr. Hopkins had indicated, what he had proposed, which I personally find acceptable, I'm not telling you how to vote, is that they would work with the planning department to restore some level of appropriate recreational area within the project. So hearing that, is there a proposal?
Agreeing with that language, I'm going to move to approve the site plan.
Okay. The motion here is to approve with the condition that the petitioner work with the planning department to restore some level of recreational area within the project. Do I hear a second? Oh, wait.
Oh, yeah, we
Hold
gotta
on a
read the
second.
conditions.
Let's read off the rest of the condition. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Bear with me a second, I'm trying to capture that. Okay, there are 10 other conditions. That all dumpsters, trash containers, and all mechanical equipment, utility structures, multiple meter boards, generators, and similar appurtenances, including those which are mounted to any part of a primary structure, shall be appropriately screened with a fence, wall, and/or landscaping. You're required to provide a gate on the dumpster enclosure. There should be closed whenever a dumpster is not being serviced, and the enclosure must be high enough to enclose the dumpster within. Number 2, that as-built record drawings, including the location of the utilities, be provided to the engineering department prior to issuance of a certificate of occupancy by the building department. Number 3, that the concern raised related to the property dimensions by the Town of Amherst Assessor's Office be addressed to the satisfaction of the town assessor. Number 4, that the concerns about lighting at Dodge and Robin Roads raised by the Amherst Traffic Safety Board in its letter dated October 1st, 2025, be addressed to the satisfaction of that board. Number 5, that the requirements of the Town of Amherst Planning Department letter dated October 7th, 2025, raised by the Zoning Enforcement Officer and Planning Department staff, be addressed to the satisfaction of the officer and staff. Number 6, that the requirements of the Town of Amherst Engineering Department Engineering Services Division letter dated September 29th, 2025, be addressed to the satisfaction of that division. Number 7, that the requirements of the Town of Amherst Engineering Department Sanitary Division letter dated October 9th, 2025, be addressed to the satisfaction of that division. That any concerns raised by the Town of Amherst Stormwater Management Officer be addressed to the satisfaction of the officer. That a rectangular rapid flash and beacon, RRFB, be paid for and installed by the petitioner on Dodge Road at Robin Ridge Road under a permit by Erie County DPW. Number 10, that the petitioner obtain any required permits for work within the Dodge Road right away from Erie County DPW Division of Highways. And number 11 is the petitioner work with the planning department to, I haven't completely worded this out yet, provide additional on-site recreation, open space opportunities. That's all I got.
Thank you, Scott. All right, we had the 10 previously written conditions plus the one that was added by Mr. O'Rourke. Does everyone understand or have any questions about the proposed conditions? Hearing that, we have a pro. Did someone second it?
Do we have a second?
I don't remember.
Okay, Tom.
Okay, Mr. Davis, second it. Roll call, please.
Hill.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Gill.
Yes.
Khan.
Yes.
O'Rourke.
Yes.
It passes 5-0. All right, moving on to item number 2, 330 Maple Road. There's no seeker on this, right?
That's right. So I would like to move that we recommend to the town board that they grant the request for relief of conditions. And if we get a second, I'd like to be able to talk on my opinion on, before we vote.
All right. Mr. Davis, what do you think?
I was going to suggest of making a motion to approve the petition with the conditions of minimizing the building height and minimizing the building size as much as feasible and maximizing the building setback as much as feasible.
Okay. All right, so we have a, first, does anybody second Mr. Davis's proposal?
I'll second, I'd like to make a statement, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
I think we should all appreciate that this is going to be a large project. It's going to require a lot of investment, and that the petitioners are willing to risk that investment without taxpayer help, unlike another sports facility under construction in the area. Thank you. Yes, I second the motion.
Okay. We have a second. Roll call, please. Well,
I don't know if anybody else has a comment, but I just want to say, before we vote, I was here, as I mentioned before, for a very contentious, dragged out for a long period of time, that dealt with issues that frankly I didn't hear any of them raised tonight. And I'm glad that the community support, both locally and regionally, is there. And I would, I guess, agree with Mr. Hopkins' statement that this is I don't know if once in a lifetime is a little bit hyperbole, but it certainly is a great opportunity. So that's why I made the motion.
thank you. Mr. Davis, you have anything to add before we get to roll call?
I'd just like to say I think this is a wonderful project. I'd like to thank the doctors for bringing this innovation to the town. You certainly have enormous support. There's no way I could be against this project. Congratulations.
I'll add myself too that coming in here before hearing anything, I was, kind of maybe focusing on the fact that this could go potentially from 50 feet high to 100 feet high. I know it could be 85. Didn't really know which way I was doing, but I was impressed by the presentation. I was impressed by the private investment on this, and as well as, from what I have seen, absolutely no recorded opposition from the general neighborhood around it. So I just wanted to add that. Does anybody else want to say anything else before we get to roll call?
No, I agree as well.
All right. With that being here, roll call, please.
Shamil,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Gill,
Yes.
Yes.
O'Rourke.
Yes.
Passes 5-0.
Welcome.
Okay. Why don't we wait? Why don't we wait a minute?
I hope you hire my son.
If people are going to discuss this, I would ask you to go outside though, because we have 2 more votes to take.
I do mean outside. Shut the doors.
No, not that I've seen. I've been, yeah, been here since 7 years. I've not seen that.
Go close the doors.
That's the recommendation.
I think they'll be. Town board to do it. Scott's. They also need approval. Okay. Who is here for decision making on petition number 3? All right, item number 3. Well, settle in, Jackie. This will be a good. These next 2 will be interesting. All right, item number 3 is 4548 and 4564 Main Street. I don't think we have a seeker in this. Do we have a? No, they're just asking for a change of the one condition here.
Is removing the
All right,
condition.
do we hear a motion on this? Well, we do have conditions on this. We need these read?
No, this is actually just, the request
Remove.
is to remove condition 11.
Okay. All right, so obviously we've heard the condition that we're being asked to remove. Do we hear a petition to remove number 11 that was previously approved?
That although we are saying that this condition is removed, it does not mean that they will not be required to consider this again when and if they're adding the second floor, and that petition comes again before the board. So this is, we are removing the condition now, period. We are not saying anything about the future.
No.
Correct. We were going to remove, Chairman, we were going to remove the word, I believe, feasibility or possibility.
Yeah.
So let me be very clear about this. I want to know exactly what we're proposing. Is the proposal to remove this condition, in other words, to approve it as requested, but we're making commentary to say, we're just, if this comes before us again, we reserve our right to do what we want to do at that point?
That is correct.
Okay, so that's not really, I don't think that's really a condition necessarily, but just something being placed on the record.
It should be on the record, yes.
Yeah, that should have actually occurred after a second. You had the discussion, but yeah.
I'm sorry?
Well, the motion should have been just
The
to
motion on the
approve
floor is
the
just to approve
request.
the condition.
So this,
Got a second, had a discussion about the request, at which point your thing would have went on the record is, in the future, we might do this, but based upon the current project, they don't need to.
But we don't want to, that if it comes up again, we don't want the petitioner to
Right.
say that
That
you
would be
already
it.
said you don't need this.
Yeah.
We need to get another
Right.
stab at it at that point.
So-
Can always
so
come-
basically, if I'm understanding you correctly, we're simply putting commentary on the record saying that we're not creating a precedent here for the future.
That's right. Right. Exactly right.
But it's not a condition
No.
so
That's
much.
right.
Okay. So we have a proposal from Harb with regard to approve the petition as is. There's really no conditions other than the ones that are unaffected by this. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by John Davis. Roll call, please. Yes.
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 Passes 5-0. And the final item, number 4, is 4774, 4780 Sheridan Drive. We discussed the possibility of postponing this, adjourning this until all of the items are received.
Move to adjourn.
All right.
And that is until the required documentation is received.
All right. The motion is to adjourn until all of the appropriate and necessary documentation is received by the planning department. Who seconded that, by the way? Carrie seconded. Roll call, please. Yes.
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 Passes 5-0.
You s-
And with that,
You still have one more item,
oh my God, thank you, Scott, for reminding me there.
calendar.
The calendar. That's right. All right. Everybody, we've seen the planned dates that go through February 18 of 2027. Has everybody had a chance to review these?
Yes.
Do I hear a motion to approve? You have condition? I well, I'll ask you, do you want to make that a condition, or are we having fun here?
No, we're not. We're very serious.
Okay,
Both of
so we have a motion to approve the schedule with the condition that if any of these dates fall upon at the exact time as a Bills game, that we will consider moving the date at that time. I'll second you, Harb. Roll call, please. Yes.
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 Passes 5-0. Okay. Now do I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Second. Roll call, please. Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, folks. This was a good meeting.